is an amateur game. I mean, the professional side of it, there are idols and heroes and fun to watch them play. But I mean, if it wasn't for amateur golf, there would be no golf.
You have to remember, when you play a golf course and you're out there for 4 hours or whatever, you're only hitting a ball for 15 minutes of that. So there's a lot of time to look around.
Hello and welcome to the Top 100 Clubhouse podcast. I'm your host, James Henderson, and we have a very special guest in Gordon Sherry. How are you doing, Gordon?
I'm great, James. Nice to see you.
Well, thanks for coming on. It's been a bit of time coming. I know Jasper and you have been contacting each other a bit to try and organise it, but we finally got it sorted.
I know time passes too quickly and things get forgotten, and you know what it's like.
Well, let's start with how golf started for you. Where did the bug bite? Where was your starting point?
It's interesting because when I was younger, the only thing that I wanted to do was play football, and I was a goalkeeper. Surprisingly, at 6'9". I'm 6'9" now, but I wasn't always 6'9". Yeah, it's funny. There was a woman had a look at me the other day in the supermarket, James, and she looked up and she went, "My God, your poor mother." And I said, "Well, the good news is I wasn't 6'9" when I was born, so it wasn't that bad for her." But with my height, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a goalie, and I was headed for that. I had signed for Kilmarnock and just wanted to be a goalkeeper. But I also played golf because my dad and my brother played. But football was my first love, and I broke my leg when I was 12. And I really didn't get back in the team. So I kind of just naturally moved over to golf and got, I was really frustrated that I couldn't get back in the team because I'd trained hard to get back. I was fitter than I'd ever been. And of course, I should have gone to another team. That was the natural thing to do, go and get a game. But I didn't.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, the great thing about golf was you're on your own. I can control it. I can go and practice. And I was totally on my own, and I loved doing that when I was 11, 12, 13. My mum and dad still live next to Annan Hill Golf Course, and I spent all my summertime either on the grass playing football, crossing the ball and heading it in, or in goals, or on the golf course. So it kind of just became a natural progression. But really, the thing that caught my attention in golf was the Open in 1984. I'd never really watched golf on the TV, didn't know much about professional golf, and was watching Seve when they opened in 84 at St Andrews. That was the thing, and he was trying to stop a guy called Tom Watson win 3 times in a row. And I remember just being in the living room, standing, watching this, probably with my goalkeeping gloves on, watching him. This is amazing. And Seve winning at the last. You remember his celebration when he held the putt on the 18th green at the old course. And it's something you don't forget, isn't it? At that moment.
Well, that's it for him. Seve was pure cinema, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
It was brilliant for golf in the way of encouraging people like yourself to there was something charming about it. There was an extra added.
That was Seve. I mean, that was really the first thing said. And then in 85, the year later, watching Sandy Lyle, a Scotsman, win the Open was incredible. Yeah. And then I was allowed to stay up in 1986 and watch the final round of the Masters. And the reason I wanted to watch that was to watch Sandy Lyle. And Sandy was paired with Jack Nicklaus, who was 5-6 shots back. And of course, Nicklaus had the run and ended up winning the Masters. So now I became obsessed, age 12, with Jack Nicklaus. But still, my love was football until early 87 when I broke my leg. And then the golf just took over completely. So that's...
Do you think there's a natural ability with a ball that translates?
Possibly. Coordination. Bob Torrance, who I worked with for 23 years, always said, there's no such thing as natural talent in golf. But people have to be coordinated. So you need to have some sort of coordination. And coordinations, it's not really just hand-eye in golf. And the same in football. It's, footwork, positioning your body, it's everything. So it's not, it's not just hitting something with your hands and arms. It's your body and everything moving. And I think playing sport from an early age, that was in me, and I loved it. So when I played loads and loads of football, and eventually just loved going to the golf and hitting balls and practicing. And nobody ever said you need to go and practice, whether it was football or golf. I just loved doing it. So, and of course, in those days, as you know, no iPads, no computers.
Yeah.
You were outside. The summer excuse me, the summer holidays came. Your 7 weeks in the summer were spent out there praying for good weather and outside, whether it was on a
Even
bike.
if it wasn't good weather.
Even if it wasn't good weather, you were playing football, you were playing golf, you were out on your bike. That was what you did. And that was all you did, really.
How did growing up being so tall, how did that affect your golf? When you first started, did you find it, were you playing with like kind of the regular clubs that everyone else was? Because I'm tall, I'm
Yeah,
6'5", but
yeah.
not, I just had whatever standard sets because couldn't afford to have a fitting or.
Yeah, I mean, I think my golf clubs were standard until I got to the point where I needed to be fitted for them. But even now, my clubs are 3/4 of an inch longer. They're not,
No,
2
it's
inches
not.
longer than standard. They get too heavy. So I had a problem at the end of 87. After the broken leg, I had a real problem with my back. So I was always tall. I was 6 feet by that age. And then
Oh,
over
wow.
the winter, I grew, I'm going to say 3 or 4 inches between November and March. And then my back was in bits with growing pains. But you can imagine 4 inches in 4 or 5 months. So
Did that carry over into the golf a wee bit?
I couldn't play golf.
Just
I
stopped.
couldn't play golf. The only thing, the good thing was it was in the winter, and I had kind of stopped playing the football, so I couldn't have played football either. So I was in agony with my back. Just
That's a shame.
And I remember having X-rays and all sorts of, there was this problem, and it was just put down to growing pains because they were measuring me. And I was getting bigger and bigger. So
when did you start working with Bob Torrance?
So that started in 1991. I think it was May the 15th, 1991, I got my first lesson. And it was about a month after I had been heavily beaten in the Scottish Boys by a guy called Ben Collier, who had won the Scottish Boys the year before. And I had drawn him in the first round, and he'd beaten me 5-4. But his father had initiated the whole go and get coaching from the national coach, you're good enough. So he had spoken to the SGU. And then my dad knew somebody in Largs. And the next thing was, a month later, I was getting my first lesson from Bob, which was transformational. Completely changed my mentality, what I did, how I approached practice. It was unbelievable.
Was there much support for golf from a national level?
I mean, yeah. I mean, listen, I was very lucky. Yes. I mean, I was lucky to end up working with somebody like Bob Torrance. I mean, a month before he saw me, I mean, back then, if you think 1991, I was just turned 17, so I wasn't like these youngsters now, and I was playing off three handicap. But 3 handicap back then was good.
Yeah,
It's not like now where it seems that everybody's off +4.
Yeah,
it just the system's changed. If you were a scratch golfer, I was exceptional.
Do you think that's because the golf clubs have got easier?
I think there's more. I think the technology, everything, and people are, it's a different system as well. It was only competition that dictated your handicap. Now it's, I mean, the USGA system, you have to put your scores in every time. So, I mean, it seems to have changed completely. So, but I went to Bob as a 17-year-old 3 handicap, James. And he had just been working with Ian Woosnam, who had won the Masters. So, I mean, pretty lucky.
Yeah.
So that transformed my golf. Within, honestly, I'm going to say, within a few months, I was almost down at scratch.
Oh wow!
I was ridiculous.
That much of a change.
It was that much of a change, and it was like he put a light switch on in my head. He was incredible, James, and he had an eye, right? And if you said to him, Bob, what's your secret? He would say, I don't have a secret. I've only watched the top golfers in the world for the last 50 years.
And just
So he'd watched all the best golfers. They all swung differently, but they all did things the same. So it maybe looked different, but it was things within their swings that there was common traits. And he had picked them out, and he'd spent time with Ben Hogan. So all of a sudden, you think back to me being 17 and a 3 handicap, and all of a sudden I'm getting this coaching from this guy, and it clicked. We clicked. And for some people, it didn't click with Bob, but for most people, it did. If you got coaching from Bob, it would be unusual for you not to really, improve. So, but no video cameras, ball flight, divot, feeling of the ball off the face, simple stuff. 4 years we worked on a couple of things. The first 4 years of when I worked with him, 2 or 3 things. Of course, you look at ball position and you look at alignment, but generally it was, using your body to swing the club, keeping your hands out of the swing so that the club face was passive, so you get consistency. You struck the ball at the same bit of the club all the time. Quite straightforward stuff, logical. And then it gave you feelings and drills and movements that allowed that to happen. And then you would find that it would be 3 or 4 or 5 things that were good in your swing now that happened because of one other thing. And now you didn't have to think about those things because they just were instinctive. You would leave Bob and you would feel like you were unbeatable.
Well, speaking about unbeatable, how quickly from starting with Bob did you end up winning the amateur championship? At what age were you when you won?
So that was 91, and 4 years later, there I am winning the amateur, but I'd lost in the final in 94. So by a year later, so 92, just quickly, from 91 to 92, I started playing boys golf, international level, got in the European boys team. We won the European boys. There was 3 boys from Ayrshire in that team.
Oh, wow.
92, I went to uni. Half the team of the home international boys went to America, and the other half stayed at home. And the 6 that stayed at home all progressed to senior internationals, of which I was one. So all the guys that went to America didn't progress straight away to men's golf. What? I did 93. 93, I went straight into men's golf. I won the Edward Trophy. I won various things. 93 was a good year. And it really propelled me into, need to knuckle down. And I remember Bob saying, I said, this is good. And he said, you need to work even harder now. He said, you've got to keep working harder. So I did. And I was at home and I was able to see him loads. And the belief got better and better. We didn't change anything. We didn't work on anything new, really. It was always the same thing. And you think about that. I would go and see him for 3 or 4 hours. And he'd stand behind me watching shots saying, that was excellent. That was good. Superb. Wee bit more. Do it more. That's good. Keep doing the same thing. Excellent. Good. Superb. You leave thinking, I'm pretty good here.
Yeah.
And then into 94, my golf got even better again. It stepped up. And I won the Champion of Champions and various other things I was doing well in. I think I finished reasonably well on a few events, and then I got to the final of the amateur at Nairn, which was a big deal. That was now I'm close to getting to play in the Open and getting to play in the Masters, and I kind of didn't play my best in the final, and remember being devastated. And probably a combination of my mother and my dad, but my dad was always very supportive. My mother would be much more brutal, and she'd say, get on with it and stop moping around. And Bob was the same. Bob said, now and I remember going to the Open in 94, James, and standing on the other side of the rope at the practice area, watching Lee James, who had beaten me, warming up to play in the Open. And Bob's right, and Bob spotted me, and he came over, and I was expecting a big hug and how you doing? You here? And he came and said, "See that lad over there? That could have been you. What are you going to do about it?" I was like, the biggest punch in the nose ever. I'm like, thanks. And he dragged me over onto the range. He says, "Come and watch Darren Clark hitting balls." So I went over and introduced me to Darren Clark, and he said, "This is where you should have been. You should have been hitting balls here. You have to learn from that. What are you going to do? What are you going to do now?" And I was honestly, and you have to have some luck, but I cannot tell you how obsessed I got with practicing and the desire to go back the next year to try and win the amateur. Now, of course, I could have been 5 or 6 under par in the first round and get beaten. You can lose. You can lose.
Yeah.
But I was so determined, and I had so many practice rounds. My preparation, everything in '95 was off the scale. I had a great caddy, and I just got through one round at a time and kept going. So, and I had a bit of luck. I was 3 down in the quarter final against David Howell. 3 down with 6 to go. So, I'm in trouble. And I birdied 4 of the last 6 to win 1 up. So that was really the time when I thought, right, I can win this.
This is my time.
I knew I could win it anyway, without being big-headed. I'd got to the final the year before, and now I was a better player. 95, I was even better. I finished
But it sounds like
well, and
that moment with Bob on the driving range is a real driving force for you.
Unbelievable. Well, when I left Nairn, this is a true story too. When I left Nairn in '94 to drive home, we were in a Renault Clio, and my mother was driving. And we probably went from Nairn to about, I'm going to say, we were south of Aviemore, and I hadn't said a word in the car. And she said, "Are you honestly not going to speak the whole way home?" And I said, "I'm just devastated." And I had, we were pleased that I had done so well and got to the final, but devastated not to win. And she said, "What are you going to do about it?" She's, "You're not going to start with not speaking to me all the way home. I've driven up to watch you today. You're going to drive out. We've got another 2 hours in the car, and you're not going to speak." So wee things like that, and we kind of almost turned it into a bit of fun. And Bob was the same, but Bob was, gave you good motivation, as did my father. I mean, when you look back, my dad, some of the things he would say to me, he would always ask me the right questions. A lot of people always think your parents are too involved, but my dad would always say, "How did you play? How did you get on? What could have been better? What are you going to do now? What are you going to practice? What are you up to?" There was never any, digs or you need to do this or you need to go and do that. It was just supportive. But he would take my dad, before I saw Bob, my dad coached me, but never instructed me or taught me. So my dad generally told me how to hold the club. Didn't tell me how to swing it ever. Did not tell me. He might talk about speed or rhythm, or you're too fast, or you're not aiming properly. So he had a rough idea. But his coaching, my dad's coaching was more, let's go and hit a bag of balls. Show me what you can do with the ball.
Yeah.
So, and he probably didn't even know he was doing it himself. He was just asking me to hit shots. I remember him sticking balls, and I worked with a guy called Kendall McQuaid now, who's a great coach. He's as good as Bob Torrance, Kendall. And we often reminisce about what I did with Bob or what I did with my dad. And I said, my dad would plonk a bag of balls behind a massive oak tree, only 4 or 5 paces away from the tree. He says, "Right, hit one left of the tree, hit one right of the tree, and get it so you can see it finish on the other side." And you had to really move your ball left to right to left. And I remember I must have only been 13, 12. And I said, "How do I do this, Dad?" And he went, "I don't know. Let's just see it. Aim left and cut it." I didn't even know how that was open in the face. But that's, if you think of youngsters, that's how you learn. And I had loads.
gamifying it.
Honestly, I did loads of that. Probably don't do enough of it now because it's great fun hitting the ball right to left to right, high, low.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and that's you know, and then I would go to Bob, and he would fine tune my swing. My ball flight was right to left. My ball started right at the target, drew, and shouldn't finish left of it. That was how I played. So if you're aiming down a fairway, you aim down the right, you draw it. If you draw it, you're in the middle. If you don't draw it, you're in the right. If you overdraw it, you're in the left. But generally, we're not trying to overdraw it. And probably when I struggled a wee bit, I was probably moving the ball too much right to left. So I would then go back and he would tighten it up again, no problem. So and a fade. Sorry, you've got me on a run here. And a fade.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Was aim left, make a draw swing, a powerful draw swing, and leave the face open. So I mean, how simple. It's the same swing that I just left. You weren't trying to do anything different, and it was all feel, and just experimenting. And I remember when he started working with Padraig Harrington, and Padraig would come up to Inverclyde and he was hitting bunker shots at the big bunker, the practice area. And I'm standing with Bob saying, bunker play is good, isn't he? He went, yeah, it's good. His bunker play is good. It's very good. And he's hitting these bunker shots from 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards, 5 yards. I mean, they're all next to the pin. And I said to Bob, what does he do? What is it he's working on? He went, I don't know. Says, just feel. Says, I can't teach him how to do that. You got to just work that out yourself. And I think that was the beauty. Because he had Paul McGinley and Padraig apparently had Rory McIlroy up at Inverclyde. They took him there thinking, we'll take him for a lesson. This young Irish lad's really good. We'll take him up to Inverclyde when he was 14 or 15. And Bob watched him hit some shots. And after half a dozen balls, he said, who do you work with at the moment? He said, I bought my local pro called Michael Bannon. He says, well, don't ever change. Just stick, I'm not giving you a lesson. He says, your swing's excellent. You're hitting the ball great. You don't need to change anything. You think,
that's so honest. In America, they'd be like, oh, we need to get that kid into our school. And
right, there you go.
A lot of people would be desperate.
That's right. And I think that was the beauty of his coaching too. That it wasn't about that for Bob. If he loved to help people get better. But he also knew that getting involved and maybe hindering somebody or hurting them, and he said this lad was incredible, and he said there was no way I was going to get involved with this natural talent, as he called it. Well, this boy who had obviously worked hard with the pro at his club. Keep it simple, and that's Rory has done that, hasn't he? He's kind of drifted off to somebody else, or he's gone to a Ledbetter, or he's gone to a Butch Harmon or a Pete Cowan, but he always ends up back at his Michael Bannon. Michael Bannon's his coach. The guy is the guy standing behind him at tournaments. Yeah. Keep it simple. What is it we've always done? That doesn't mean you're flawless. Doesn't mean you're perfect. He's a pretty good golfer, Rory.
He's not bad, is he?
Exactly, and I think that was a great trait that Bob Torrance had. So,
talking a wee bit about golf courses in your amateur career, which ones really stuck out to you? Obviously, you must have some sort of affinity to places like Hoylake that you've won.
I do. Nairn. So I'm a member at Nairn. I joined Nairn on the back of
amazing club.
Incredible club, lovely people, great golf course, and as much as I do love Dornoch, I would rather play Nairn. I'd rather. Oh, yeah? I think Nairn is just a really traditional, fantastic links golf course, and they've made some changes that are excellent to the golf course, but the place is excellent. I mean, it's just fabulous. And listen, so is Dornoch, so is Castle Stewart, all that stuff up there. But Nairn for me is, and of course it's special because I had that moment, and as much as it was disappointment, I came away with great memories and good friends. And actually, that last year they had the 25th anniversary dinner for the Walker Cup. The Walker Cup was there in '99, and they asked me to speak at the dinner, which was a great honour. But the amazing thing was, James, on the first tee, as before I go out to play, I meet the caddy who had caddied for me. I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him since 1994, right?
Oh, now, amazing.
Wait for this, though. He was only 12 at the time, the boy. Now
did you recognise him?
Well, I didn't. Somebody said, that's the boy that caddied for you. And he came over, and it was really quite emotional. This young boy who'd caddied for me and had been skipping school to caddy for me in the tournament. And I remember somebody from the Scottish Golf Union, and he will remain nameless. He said, "You're in the final now. You can't possibly have that young boy caddying for you." And I said, "He's caddied for me the whole week. I'm in the final. I'm not changing my caddy now. No chance." And I remember the people at there and the members thinking, and it was actually the Lord Whitelaw, who was a member there and who lived there. And he had got to hear this. He said, "I'm very proud of you that you've stuck with the young lad for the car." I said, "He's doing a good job." So he's carrying my bag. He's right next to me. That's what I asked him to do. I said, "The yardages are pretty good." I said, "I can read the greens. I don't need anybody." I said, "He can help me a wee bit." And there I did. And then last year, met him when he's now a greenkeeper there. So he's one of the greenkeepers, and will be 37 or 40. All those years later, it was 30 years. So he'll be 42, aye. So it was just incredible, James.
I must be quite emotional, just like
it was unbelievable
again for the first time.
It was unbelievable. So, and that's what golf's all about, isn't it? Really, I mean, that's why Nairn's special to me too.
Well, Nairn, as not just a great links golf course, is a fantastic golf club. They have a real community spirit in that golf club.
And one of my good friends is the pro there, Murray Urquhart.
Okay.
He's the pro, and he's a great teaching pro, great ambassador for Nairn. I mean, Murray's a great guy. Murray was on tour for a few years as well, so he's a very good player, but good fun. So, it's a great club. So that's certainly one club that I have a deep affinity to. Obviously, Brassy's the other one Brassy transformed my life too. And it kind of coincided with, I joined there in 1990.
Okay.
And that really, not only is it a great golf course as well, but again, I would go there as a 5 handicapper probably, and now there are 12 boys who are 5 or better. So I'd go from Annan Hill, where I was the best golfer in Kilmarnock at Annan Hill, to I'm one of 12. So now there's this incredible competition and history of really good golfers coming out of Brassy. And at that time, Jim Milligan he had played Walker Cup in 89 and would go on and play in 91 as well. So, but there was lots of really, really good men amateurs as well as the boys section. The boys section was silly good in terms of the number of boys who were good golfers.
Am I right in saying Brassy is the most successful Walker Cup producing club in the UK?
Yeah, we've got a Walker Cup Players Lounge now at the club, which is quite humble, and there's a whole room, the kind of big dining room is called the Walker Cup Players Lounge, because there's 4 of us. So there's Jack McDonald and Ewan Walker are the other 2. So Jim Milligan twice, myself in 95, Jack McDonald at Lytham, and then Ewan Walker, I think, was Royal Liverpool. So 4 players from one club, and 3 of them on winning teams. That's pretty good. So
I have to admit, I've been in that room and found it very funny seeing, seeing all the jackets in a row and then just seeing yours on a different scale compared to the others.
It's funny. I think I'm going to the Walker Cup, as you know.
Yep.
It's Cyprus.
I got a ticket to Saturday, I'm
Are you going?
thinking about still. I'm thinking about going. I still haven't quite confirmed with some work stuff, but I'd like to go.
So the RNA sent out an email saying all past there's lots of things for former players. I mean, they really do a great job of trying to make you feel part of it, which is I've only been to one Walker Cup since I played in it, and that was at St
Seriously?
Andrews. Yeah, in 2023, it was St Andrews. I thought I need to go there because it's not going to be back there in my lifetime, probably. So
No,
I did a wee event.
it was very cool.
It was good, yeah. It was great. So, and I hadn't been at one at all. But I'm going to Cyprus with a friend. And the email came out saying, feel free to wear your Walker Cup blazer. And I thought, well, I'm going to have to break into Brassy at night and break the glass, take it down off the wall, only to realise that it's now far too small.
I'm surprised
I
it's too
don't
small.
think I could get it over my arms, this thing. You know, as much as you think it's enormous, it's not enormous enough, believe me.
Well, to be honest with you, I can't imagine there's many Walker Cup players that'll be able to get on their old Walker Cup jackets.
No, exactly. I know.
No,
and of course, my jacket being next to Jack McDonald. Jack McDonald's probably 5'7". So there's these jackets. It looks like there's something out of that film, Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's twins with Danny DeVito and the two jackets.
It is honestly hilarious.
How come those jackets are so different, but the two wedges are the same size? Because there's golf clubs as well.
Yeah. You know? There's so much stuff in there. It's a wonderful room. So I couldn't recommend it enough. And the food in the clubhouse is some of the best down there.
It's
now.
Fantastic. They do a great job. David Addison's doing a great job. Kerr Rowan, the head greenkeeper's doing a great job. But there's a committee. There was a committee there with Alan Hill, Robbie Fulker, and other guys. I can't remember their names, but they really pushed to do that room. So, I mean, listen, a dream would be to get the Walker Cup at Brassy. But I don't know how easy that would be. The golf course is good enough, and they've had the Junior Open. They have the Open qualifying. They've got the space, and they can set up the driving range. It would be fantastic, and I'll be in somebody's ear. I'll be in somebody's ear at Cyprus to say, "Come on, when is the Walker Cup going to be at Brassy?" And they'll probably say in 100 years' time, which will be no use.
How about venues?
My favourite venues?
Yeah.
See, I was always my favourite golf course was for a long time was Royal Troon, and I love Troon, and you know, again, I'm biased. I'm along the road at Brassy, and I just thought always anytime I ever played Troon, I just loved it, and I still think it's phenomenal. Turnberry though is off the scale superb. It has been transformed. It is a tragedy if that place does not get the Open, because it's the best. For me, it's the best golf course in Scotland by a mile. By a mile. My favourite place to play golf actually on the Open rota would be Portrush. Portrush is fabulous, and they just had it there, so it's superb.
All those courses are elite. No,
and St Andrews is special. I know people, you know, I had 4 friends from Arizona here, and they managed to get in the ballot, and they played, and they loved it. They loved playing the golf course, but they said it wasn't the best golf course by a mile of any of the courses they played. I said, it's not. I think everybody knows that, but it's very, very special. It's, you know, to stand in the first tee and the 18th tee and just play around. Once you play it a lot, you get to realise just how special the old course is.
Do you think they should go there more often?
I do.
Why do you think that?
It's the home of golf. It's the home.
Yeah.
the home of the R&A. It's the home of golf every 3 years, and then 2 different ones in between. I think I'm
Why
being incredible. Why not? Just, you know.
do you think it's suitable for pro golf? Still can hold its own against it?
Of course. If it's 20 under wins it, Nick Faldo won it with 20 under in 1990, didn't he?
Yeah, it's
I think
not
I'm
really
sure it
got
was
any
20
better.
under. But the weather was good. You know, and the idea that Bryson DeChambeau was going to start driving every green and birdie every hole, did it happen?
No.
And if it's windy, I think when I played in the Open in '95, John Daly won it 6 under.
Yeah.
John Daly hit the ball quite a long way then. You know, he was only 6 under. It was blowing a gale. And the last 2 days it was windy, so it was hard. It's not easy, and they put the flags in difficult positions, and guys hit it further. Guys are stronger, aren't they? Now guys hit it further. They go at it harder. The equipment lets them do that, and they're much fitter than they were. Guys are athletes. That's the difference.
Yeah.
But the scores are not that. I mean, who won the Open the last time? Cameron Smith. Can't remember what his score was, but you know, and as good as Rory is,
15 under or something.
He couldn't. I mean, the weather was decent in the last round, and he couldn't break 70. So it's not
that was
easy.
Incredible display of putting, though. Cameron Smith
exactly.
that was
exactly, but he wasn't any lower than Nick Faldo was in 1990.
Yeah.
So, is the course up for play? Of course it is.
Yeah,
I think it is anyway.
Can we talk a wee bit about your 95 Open experience?
Yeah.
What's the story behind? Right, there's 2 things that I've heard. One, you had a £1 bet against Tiger Woods.
Okay.
Is that true?
Well, that really started the week before at the Scottish Open.
Okay.
Scottish Open, we were both playing there as amateurs, and he put a bet on with me who would finish higher in the Scottish Open. And then it went into the next week with a the same again, because I had finished higher at the Scottish Open. So it was double or quits. It was double or quits stuff. At the Open. So it was actually £2 we were playing for.
Oh,
and I have to say that this bet remains unpaid. I'm willing to take a check or a wire transfer.
Well, what was it like? Obviously, Tiger Woods is considered one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time by many. What was it like growing up in a period and competing against him at that amateur level, whether it was at Walker Cup or the Open amateur level, or what was it like? How did it feel? Was there a fear?
You could tell that he was mega special. I mean, I played with him in the Eisenhower Trophy in '94, and I just remember some of the shots. And they hit off that. We played at the Le National in France. You know, where they play the French Open, where the Ryder Cup was. In the last hole, I've hit my best drive, and I wasn't massively long, but I was long enough. And I hit a 7-iron to that green in the last hole, and he had a 3-wood and a sandwich. I mean, it was crazy. He had speed. There was so much speed through the ball, and he'd hit his 8-iron 180 even back then. You know, but he was also prone to hitting wild shots.
Yeah,
but he didn't care. He just recovered. You know, he was young, and I think he won the amateur 94, 95, 96, and the US amateur. So, clearly phenomenal golf. And I think he'd won. Did he not win I think he won 3 juniors before that as well. 3 US GA junior things. So it was like 6 in a row. I mean, that's phenomenal. He was. You could tell he was phenomenal. Stephen Gallagher and I played against him and John Harris in the foursomes, and you could tell that the guy was very, very good. So anyway, we got on fine, and you know, if I see him now and again now, I would always have a hello and how you getting on. So
it must require quite an interesting time to grow up. I've heard so many people that have competed against greats and gone, actually, that's the moment when I realized I didn't want to do this anymore, because it's mentally challenging as a process for someone to take on someone that good.
I think he was. I mean, he had been going at it as much as I had practiced and developed my golf from the age of 10, 11, 12. I wasn't forced into it. I wasn't, you know, taken to the golf because you had to practice. I did it because I loved it, and I'm sure he did as well. But there was an agenda with him.
Yeah,
there was an agenda, and he succeeded. I mean, he's certainly one of the greatest golfers that ever lived. I mean, for me, Jack Nicklaus is still the greatest.
Yeah.
People forget his record. People forget, and they've forgotten how well he did. You know, he won his first professional win. Jack Nicklaus was the US Open when he was 22.
Yeah.
And I think that, right, so you think about that, his first pro win, but he'd already finished second in it as an amateur. Like the year before or before that, behind Arnold Palmer.
Yeah, well, that's it. He had something like 29 seconds, did he not, in majors?
19.
Oh, it was 19. So 19 seconds,
18 wins.
It's unheard of.
It's unheard of.
It's crazy.
And also, by the time he won his first US Open, Jack Nicklaus, that was his 6th appearance. So at age 22, it was his 6th time of playing in the US Open.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He'd played in it 6 times. That is, he played in it when he was 16.
That's wild.
That's wild. And people don't know that stuff. And then his Open record, I remember seeing a thing where it was like from 60 something right through to 80. And it's just insane, the positions that Jack Nicklaus finished in the Open. How well he did. I know he finished first. He won the Open twice, didn't he? Only 70 and 78. Was it twice?
I'm not sure.
He won it at. Did he win it at St Andrews twice or once?
I'm not sure. Anyway. I can look up.
But it was the where he finished. You know, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 3rd, 4th. I mean, when he didn't win it, it was like Peter Thompson. Peter Thompson won the Open 5 times in 8 years. And I think the 3 or 4 times that he didn't win it, he was second. It was a crazy record as well.
Okay, so he won it 3 times. He won it in 66 as well.
66. I think when he won
66,
it. What were the venues? Did he win it? He won it at Muirfield. He must have won it at Muirfield because it's called the Muirfield Village.
Muirfield then was 66, and the other 2 were St Andrews.
The other 2 were St Andrews.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And you've done something pretty cool in front of him, haven't you? Do you know, get a hole-in-one in front of him and Tom Watson?
That was an incredible, yeah. It was. I mean, I guess especially given the old course, there's only 2 chances to do it really, unless you drive a par 4.
Yeah.
You've only got the 8th and the 11th.
I never thought about
chances
that.
are half. Yeah, we walked onto the tee in the 8th hole in the practice round on the Wednesday. And I hold my 7-iron playing with him and Tom Watson, which was just amazing. And bearing in mind, I was obsessed. I was obsessed with Jack Nicklaus. I was obsessed from the age of 12 through to, you know, I mean, then all of a sudden playing with him, you know, from 86 onwards, you know, right up until I met Bob, the only thing that I did was watch Jack Nicklaus videos, instructional videos. And you can watch them on YouTube. It's called Golf My Way.
Yeah.
And it's again so simple. But that was the instruction that I got, was Jack Nicklaus on these VHS
what did he say to
cassettes.
you when it went in?
Anyway, just well done, congratulations. And I remember going to throw the ball. I've got the ball in my hand and I'm getting ready to hurl it towards the crowd over at the 10th tee or the 11th tee. And Tom Watson said, "Don't throw that ball, keep that ball." I said, "Why?" He said, Jack Nicklaus will sign it. He says he doesn't really sign golf balls, but I think he would sign your ball for you. And he did.
Oh,
still at my mum and dad. So Tom Watson, Jack Nicklaus, and another four. The fourth guy was a guy called Tom Wargo, who was a friend of theirs, and he was on the senior tour. He had won the US Senior Open and qualified for the Open. So that was the four of us that day. So Tom Watson as well. I mean, it's funny how life brings you around in a circle. So I played on the Wednesday with Watson, and then I got drawn with him in the first 2 rounds. So I played 3 days in a row round St Andrews. And then I played a practice round with him at the Masters in Augusta on the Tuesday, which was just him and I. It was amazing. Then I didn't see him for a number of years, and I saw him at the Open in 2011. And I had bought his book. And he's got a fantastic book called Timeless Swing. And it's really just simple instruction of how he went about swinging the golf club over the years, from 75 right through to nearly winning the Open in 2009. Things never changed. And now I see him quite regularly in Arizona. He's a member of the same club that I'm a member of. So
is he?
And he still looks silky. I mean, he's had problems with his shoulder, and he's quite private. You know, he likes to, but he's a legend. He's 8-time major winner. Just watching him still clipping balls away, and great leg action and great footwork and talk about coordination. It's just superb.
Talking about you switching over to Augusta just there, when you won the amateur championship at Hoylake, you were able to then qualify for the Open, which you played, and then Augusta. How did it feel going from the cold weather grasses of Scottish links golf course to the likes of Augusta, where the style of the game is
at least you've highlighted all the reasons for my poor play. All the excuses. I'd never thought of the colder grasses and the warm grasses being an issue, but now I'm at peace because you've highlighted the deficiencies in my golf, which I can accept being down to the grass. Listen, I mean, I'd played enough golf. I'd been in Phoenix for a month in the winter. I'd been at Valderrama. I'd played enough golf in Europe and stuff that I didn't think too much about it. I mean, Augusta was perfect condition. There was nothing that, you never got a bad lie. There was no rough back then, 96 when I played. The greens were off the scale phenomenal. They were so fast. That was the inexperience, lack of competitive edge was the real issue for me in the first 2 rounds. I always like to say, James, that I played all 4 rounds at Augusta: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That was enough. You can only lose once you did any more than that. I felt guilty even playing the 4 rounds, to be honest. I felt as if I was taking up a place, And once you lose a ball off a green, once you've putted a ball off the green and you can't find it, you know that you should probably leave and go home.
Did you actually lose a ball off the green?
No, this is... So I enjoy doing a wee bit of after dinner speaking, and some of the stories that I recall are, I mean, some of it's fine. It wasn't funny at the time. My caddy was Turnberry George, and Turnberry George was actually a very good caddy. He caddied on tour, caddied for Paul Broadhurst in the Ryder Cup at Kiowa, and he handed me, and I remember walking round before the first round, and he handed me 3 balls. And as we got to the putting green, he says, "Come and have a look at how fast the greens are." He says, "I've shined them up overnight. So already I'm going round to these greens." And honestly, it was like a mirror of the green, the putting green. And of course I'm shaking. And I promise you, I dropped the balls, the 3 balls, and they landed on each other. And they went across the green. So one ball's gone over there, one's behind me. I'm already looking for balls. Excuse me. Okay, can I get my ball back as I'm on the putting green? Oh God! And then he said, I remember him saying to me, "Right, big man, these greens are lightning fast. You might want to start with an uphill putt." I'm going, geez, I'm shaking and I hit this thing about 6 feet past. And I'm watching it. And as it goes 6 feet past the hole, then I watch it stop and slowly come back to me. And it ran all the way back. I'm going, oh my God. I mean, the greens were fast in practice. But honestly, they were 2.5 feet quicker on the Thursday.
Oh my God.
It was
so you're practicing on false numbers, really.
Practicing on fast greens, and then all of a sudden is off the scale scary. But
And it's not like those greens aren't undulating either.
Putting my ball from the back of the ninth. I had a lovely drive down the ninth. Hit the ball. The flag was front right, and I putted my ball down off the green, 50 yards down the fairway. And as the fans on the left, as I walked past them, looked like they were going to be sick, I went down to my ball, and Tunbury George said to me, "Right, he's now giving me a yardage again." I'd been on the green, and he's got his book out. You've got 45 yards to the front, big man, right? And then he said, "And as you know, having walked past it twice already, the flag is 12 on." Oh dear. Anyway, easy double bogey, 43 to the turn, and I was distraught.
Oh God!
Thankfully, I managed 35 in the back nine and shot 78. And I remember thinking 78, an absolute disaster. But actually, James, 78 was a great score. I did such bad preparation in terms of practice, and you needed to play that golf course over and over and over. And I'd played 2 practice rounds and was straight into the tournament.
Well, 78 after 43 front is pretty impressive.
I came back and that was with a ball in the water at 13. So it wasn't too bad,
Yeah, you got it good.
Great memories. I mean, listen, it was great. I mean, when I look back, it was a blur at the time, but you can recall, and there's lots of funny stories, and that's what it's all about. It was great times, and to be there with my mum and dad. I mean, you think my dad became hooked on golf because he attended the Open at Turnberry in '77. He was working there. He worked in Ayrshire in the police. Watching Tom Watson and Jack Nicklaus. So can you imagine now that my dad is walking around the golf course in 1995, watching his son play a practice round with Tom Watson and Jack Nicklaus, and then to go to the Masters and be there with me and watch me playing a practice round with Tom Watson again, and play the first 2 rounds with Fred Couples. Pretty special, as much as
very special.
It's a lot of things that didn't go well for me afterwards with my career, but you have to be positive and move forward. And I wasn't for a while, after I stopped playing, you get a bit down about your golfer, but I mean, geez, look at it. And funny stories, that's what it's all about,
It's about enjoying life, right?
Say that again.
It's about enjoying life, particularly when you get opportunities like playing Augusta in the Masters.
I drove down when I had the privilege of working with Sandy Lyle for a few years. This is more recent. And after I picked up my credentials at Augusta, they were at the Masters. I drove down Magnolia Lane the wrong way. Well, I thought I was going to go to jail. The sheriff's got his gun out and saying, "Who is this idiot coming down Magnolia Lane the wrong way?" It was me. I was the one. So, and then On the way out the gate, I meet the guy and he said, "Are you the guy? Are you the Scottish guy who's going down Magnolia Lane the wrong way?" I said, "That'll be me." He says, "Well, you just come in my gate." He said, "That's fantastic." And for 3 or 4 years, I saw this guy, and we became friends. And that's what happens in golf.
Yeah.
There's always something special, and I think I appreciate that more. The older you get, the more you appreciate the people that you've met and some of the things you've done.
Well, that's it. For a very lonely sport, it's an incredibly social sport.
Yeah, and that's right. And I would say the reason that I went into golf was because I didn't get the opportunity in a team sport, and yet I would never have. Who knows? I was quite tall. I was fairly athletic when I was younger. I could have gone on to be a pretty good goalkeeper probably because of my height and the training I would have got when I was older. Would I have had the same experiences and the same journey that I've had and continue to have now through golf? Who knows?
No chance. If you're just
Probably
playing at a
not.
Scottish level, no.
If you're at a Scottish level, if I'd gone on to be
International,
an internet, but even then,
yeah.
I mean, if you look
You don't get.
I wanted to be Jim Leighton. I don't know if you remember Jim Leighton, the goalie who was at
No.
Aberdeen when he went to Man United. And so my first ever Scotland game was Scotland versus Iceland in the World. There was a World Cup qualifier in 1986. And my dad took me to the game, and I'm watching Jim Leighton. I wanted to be Jim Leighton, the goalie. Still, I still had that want to be a goalkeeper. But Jim Leighton played for Scotland. He played for Man United. I'm sure he had a great career, but does it really open the doors at golf? Maybe. I don't know. I think if you're a legend at something, then I'm sure. But
well, that's it. Not often do footballers get to play with the likes of the Jack Nicklaus of the.
I know. That's
of the football world. They're not playing with a lot of the guys who were coming up when you're coming up. Probably never got this opportunity to play with a Messi or a Pele or a.
Exactly, and I still love football. I'm a Kilmarnock fan. I love going to the football until the kickoff. and I've started watching Scotland, and I love going to. I was in the Euros in Germany, the Munich Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was incredible experience. I played going way back. I played golf with Franz Beckenbauer in 1996.
What was that like?
I mean, that was just off the scale. I was 21 at the time, and he phoned up the house that we were staying in, asking to speak to me because they had been given my number and asking me about having a game of golf. And my friend Russell and I, we were convinced it was a wind-up. There is no chance that Franz Beckenbauer has called up to ask Big Sherry from Kilmarnock for a game of golf. Right? It's not happening. It's someday. It's a prank. It has to be. And it turned out that it wasn't a prank, and we played golf the next day, and we went round, and and I never saw Franz Beckenbauer play, so it was probably at that time a wee bit blasé. But that guy, if you were to write down the top 5 or the top 10 footballers of all time, he's in the list still.
Yeah.
And among the Messis and the Ronaldos.
Yeah, exactly.
So what an experience. It was incredible.
He's what was his golf like?
Excellent. Mega competitive. I think he probably played about 7 or 8. So, and again, he was desperate to win. Did not like hitting bad shots. Nobody does, but he did not like hitting bad shots. And gentleman, real gentleman.
Do you think that the reason you see so many sportsmen be able to cross over to golf is because actually it really is about how competitive you are to be able to be good?
I think coordination,
Desire.
So I was at the SFA Golf Day recently, and Steve Clark doesn't play much golf. Says, I don't play much golf. And he stood up in the first tee and he gave it a right hit. So he's got that coordination, that strength in his legs. He's got something these guys they've got something in them. And of course, the minute the ball's down and it's quiet, they won't admit it, but they want to win. So that competitive edge and that athletic ability, coordination. I think that's why you see a lot of footballers become good golfers.
I'm pretty much. I think we've covered most things. I just got 2 more things I want to do. Gordon, what's your 5 favorite golf courses? The ones that really mean something to you. What's the ones that matter most?
Well, I would say, I know this will sound just easy, but I mean Brassey's changed my life. 1990, I joined there, and it transformed my golf. So I would say that Brassey's in that top 5. I love going back to play Brassey. I don't go very often because it's not that handy. I live in Helensburgh, so and a lot of the time I'm down the coast and I'm working or doing stuff. So further down the coast, Turnberry has to be up there now. Turnberry. I remember going to Turnberry for years, and I always left disappointed because I'd been at the Open in '86 and '94, and I always left saying, "What a great golf course! Shame about the condition. Shame about the clubhouse. Shame about it just wasn't up to the standard. It was just disappointing." And now it's
amazing land.
Now amazing it's land. Off the scale. Superb. The golf course has been changed. The condition is superb. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to go and play golf. And I know not everybody's cup of tea, the president, but in terms of golf, he's done a phenomenal. His company have done a great job.
So Jasper normally helps with the podcast. He's there right now with Martin Ebert, looking at the golf course. Yeah, so it's quite exciting stuff. I know they've just done a few more changes, 6 and 7, I think. 6, 7?
7 is 7 and 8.
7, 8, that's it, sorry.
7, 8 and 13. And actually 7's obvious because they've taken it along the water, so it looks great.
Yeah.
8, the angle of your drive is way better. But 13, they have mounded down the sides. So 13 was almost a kind of nothing hole. Wasn't very. It has been transformed. It is superb.
It's that little flat area where you go down towards Rob Bruce and come back. It's almost
that's 12. So you go down 11, 12, 13's a kind of dogleg left to right from an elevated.
Yeah, I know the one. Yeah.
But they've mounded it down the right side and behind the green. So they've kind of given it a slight stadium feel. And it's just it's transformed it. It's superb. 14 for me is the weakest hole in the course. The par 5.
Yeah,
I don't know whether they change the direction of the tee. It would be easy fixed. But I think any time that the Trump family are there, they're always looking to improve it. And I think for members for a while they didn't fancy the changes, but then once the changes have been made, they all love it. It's been superb.
Happens every time you get the club makes changes that are for positive with a good architect.
Fantastic.
It always works out better at the end. It almost I know very few times it hasn't. So so Brassey,
Turnberry. I mean, we've talked about Nairn. Nairn is special to me. I would, I could go and play Nairn every day. And then, and I'm not a bucket list person as much as I've got some bucket list golf in the next couple of weeks. I'm not really a must play Pine Valley or Oakmont or Marion or Cypress or, I'm a member at a place called Desert Mountain in Arizona.
Okay.
And we've got 7 golf courses, 6 Jack Nicklaus golf courses, and a par 3 course. And that is my happy place. I love going to Arizona. The weather's good. The golf courses are exceptional. The conditions are great. I just love going there. It feels like home from home. So, and out of the golf courses there's a golf course called Geronimo, which is just exceptional. So that is for me one of my top 5. But Desert Mountain as a whole is just I love going there.
Yeah,
So is that 4? We got 4, one more. I mean, listen, there are so many other golf courses. I mean, I love Carnoustie. I love the old course. Muirfield, I played 9 holes in Muirfield recently. It's spectacular. I'm very lucky. I mean, I've played so many courses. Where else is there? I mean, I'm a links man. I love my links golf.
Yeah.
Links golf is as good as it gets.
It's very hard to argue that the links doesn't have an extra edge on any other golf style because of the fact that it allows for a running game. So if you argue that strategic golf's about variety of shots, right?
Yep.
And you take away the fact that you have a running game, then you instantly lose an extra level of strategic golf. So I've always found it very difficult to argue.
I'm with you. And that would be, you go and play at King's Barnes or you play at Dundonald, and they're both great golf courses, good fun to play. But if you go there and you play with a higher handicap, there's so much trouble right in the front of the green, whether it's an elevated green, a burn, or a bunker. You can't run your ball on.
Yeah.
And that to me is so, these places hold the Women's Open and they hold the Scottish Open or the Dunhill. And the pros, they don't notice. But if you go and play there with somebody playing off 14 who relies on landing their ball short and running it on, now they can't. So,
well, you look at golf clubs, like you said, Muirfield, or you look at the old course, or you look at Clune, you played, I think your Walker Cup was at Porthcawl.
Yep.
All these golf courses are wide open at the front. Not wide open, but they give you a space to run your ball in and play. Yeah. If you're an old guy who's 80 and who can only hit the ball at 180 yards, it gives you a chance to get on the green.
Gives you a chance. And so the kind of modern, the Castle course is a great example too, isn't it? As Castle course is a fantastic bit of land, great golf course, and then there's these greens at the end of it that are just too severe. And they don't need to be. They don't need to be because it's always windy. You can still have slopes on them, but they don't need to be upside down, just treacherous. There's no need for it. It's just too much because I think that Castle course, if the greens were just kind of normal and sensible, that would be a fabulous place to go and play golf all the time.
Yeah.
I remember I had my drive down that 9th hole, was going right in the middle of the green and it ended up out of bounds. The argument would be, well, you shouldn't have been trying to drive the green, but the ball was nowhere near out of bounds until it went on the green. And the next thing is it's gone. I've gone. And I just thought that's, and I think even the designers, I think it was McClay Kidd.
He's been on the pause.
I think he's even said, overdid it with that. That's such a shame because that golf course, I have played there and I've gone, I love being here. The clubhouse, everything's perfect. And then the greens just ruin it.
I think greens, they could probably, eventually the greens will be done. But his shaping on the... Yeah, 100%. But his shaping on the fairways and his routing and what he's done on the golf course is very good. I think it deserves a bit more respect for the fairways and the routing on the golf course, but the greens are just brutal.
It's like too much.
Yeah, it's
you can have 2-tier greens or you can have slope. When you go to Muirfield, I was there with a friend recently, and I remember standing the 15th green. We're playing down. We played from the forward tee, so it was a kind of driving a pitch, and it wouldn't be from the kind of back tee. But we're on that 15th green, and it's flat going into the green, but there's massive slope. So it's playable. You can land it short and kind of get it close, but you might end up 40 feet away, but you've still got a putt. It's not in a bunker or landing short and going away over there. It's
a very cool green, that green.
15, even 18 in Muirfield's amazing.
Yeah, it's really not often do you, unless you play a really well played running shot, it's very hard to get back up onto that back tier.
Yes.
Because it's quite severe, that slope up onto where the pin is often.
Yeah.
And if you get it wrong, you're through the back, and it's quite treacherous from the back, even though it's just essentially fairway down a slope.
Yeah. So we've got Brassey, we've got Nairn, we've got Turnberry, we've got Geronimo, and I've got one more. I can't really.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Portrush. I think Portrush is a phenomenally good golf course. I played Royal County Down. I only played it once, and the caddy had me terrified on every tee. Because he said, "See that marker on the top of the hill?" He said, "Yeah, that's your line." I said, "What's left of that?" "Oh, you can't be going left of that, sir." I said, "What about right of it?" "Dead." You're going. So the fairway's actually 3 inches wide. It's the width of the pole. So you're standing there in a gale trying to hit a ball over a pole, and you get down there and go, actually, there's plenty of space. So I think my experience was semi-ruined at Royal County Down because I was terrified on every tee to hit it 3 inches offline. But Royal County Down is good, but for me, it's not in the same league as Portrush.
Portrush is elite. I love Portrush completely.
Portrush is fabulous golf course.
Right, okay, I want to just cover one last thing before we finish.
Okay.
And that is the Walker Cup, because we've got the Walker Cup coming up next 2 weeks, 1 week, 1.5 weeks, whatever it is.
Yeah, well, it starts a week on
next week.
Week on Saturday.
Yeah. What was your experience of the Walker Cup, and what you were down in Wales, was it Porthcawl?
So the Walker Cup I played was 1995, Porthcawl, and it was the pinnacle of everything, you know. I had aimed for the Walker Cup. 93, I was disappointed I don't think I was even close to getting in the team, but I'd hoped to try and qualify, but I don't think I was, when I look back, probably not even close. So, you know, that was, you know, play great golf and get in the Walker Cup in 95. And then to lead the team out in singles and played first both days in the singles was a huge honour. And thankfully I won both my singles. We lost. Stevie Gallagher and I played foursomes together, and we barely lost. In fact, for Scotland, I don't even remember losing with Stephen in home internationals or in matches.
Quite fair.
Oh, we were great pals. We shared a room. We were, you know, it was great. We had such a great relationship. Even if we didn't play well, we were enjoying it and having fun and carried each other through. I mean, just the Walker Cup, I don't know. I didn't play well in the foursomes. I remember probably letting them down a bit. Then we lost both our foursomes matches. But we won he won his singles and I won my singles, so that was important, I guess. A great honour. It's the pinnacle of your amateur career. Everybody knows it as the Amateur Ryder Cup. That's what it is.
What was the feeling and vibe in the camp? Because let's be honest, we don't have a great record, but you had a very strong team that year.
We did, and Padraig Harrington was, I guess, he's the big one from that time. And Padraig and I are still good friends. And he had played 91 and 93 and lost both. So, you know, his experience of Walker Cup had been a great pleasure to play in it, but hadn't had a winning feeling. And I think, to be honest, we had 4 Scots in the team. And it's easy for me to say this, but Barclay Howard, who had been round the block, and this was his second go at amateur golf and got Walker Cup. Graham Rankin. And Graham Rankin, he went on to play 97 and 99, 3 Walker Cups, and Stephen Gallagher and I. And I think what's the way to put it, our nonsense of camaraderie, laughing all the time, telling jokes, really pulled the team along. And, you know, maybe the other guys will disagree. Maybe the English guys will disagree. But
they're not serious enough.
Well, there was no Welsh in the team. That was the big thing.
Okay.
There was in Royal Porthcawl and the Welshman hadn't made the team. Then Craig Evans was the closest to making the team, and he didn't. It was David Howell, Mark Foster, Lee James, and Gary Wilson home. And then 2 Irishmen, Jody Flanagan and Padraig. So 6 out of the 10 had a different sense of humour. Not that I'm saying that the English guys don't. They did, and they got on great with David and Mark and Gary and Lee. But Podrick, Jody, and the 4 Scots, it was a carry-on. It was a carry-on in terms of making sure they were having a good time. You know, I told a story last year about the clothes, and at that time the R&A were sponsored by Marks and Spencer's. Now, Marks and Spencer's only do trousers that go to a 33 inside leg. So you know it's coming. Gallagher and Sherry open up their boxes in the hotel room to find out that Gordon's clothes, none of them fit. None of them. No trousers, no T-shirts, nothing fits me at all. Nothing. Everything's too small. Stevie opens his box up to find out that nothing fits him. But the good news is, all of Sherry's clothes fit Gallagher, so he's okay. So he hijacks my box. And I remember Clive Brown, the captain, who was great, and I've still got a lot of time for Clive. He said, right, guys, we need to put on the brown trousers and the navy T-shirt to go out for dinner. And I said, Clive, and he probably wouldn't even remember this. I said, my brown trousers are not fitting. He says, well, it's just one night. Just put the brown. They were like brown woolen trousers. They were catastrophic. And the navy T-shirt. And even all the other guys were slimmer than us. And here comes Gallagher down with his T-shirt. He said he's got his tight T-shirt and the brown trousers on that are too tight. And everybody starts laughing. He says, well, wait till you see Big Sherry. And I told him the trousers that are 3.5 inches short. And then Graham Rankin, who was a big lad, he turns up with a T-shirt. He's popping out the T-shirt and the trousers. And of course, everybody's in hysterics. And Clive looked and went, I think we probably need to go and put on whatever you want. Jeans and a T-shirt.
Just something else.
Something else, not this. We're not going out with Sherry looking like this. So that was almost important that we had that.
Yeah.
You know, there was no gripes about it. There was nobody coming down and saying, look at the state of this. I'm not doing this. This is a disgrace. It was the opposite.
It softens the whole thing. But that's the classic thing.
And Wilson Home had a Gary. He came down. He's out for dinner. He's got the T-shirt, and he's had this T-shirt printed. Only one, I may add, and it said Walker Cup Dream Team, and it had all the names of the players on the front of the T-shirt. And Graham Rankin said to him, "Oh, Wilson Home, did you get that T-shirt made before you were picked?" It's like, and that went on, and Gary was great, and he gave it out as much as, and we had that camaraderie, and that, I think that is the thing that really helped, just the relaxed atmosphere. It was a great team spirit, really great team spirit, and everybody wanted to win for everyone else. You know, I don't know. Last night I listened to the interview with the Man United manager, and he talked about Grimsby and who are 4 levels below Man United. He said there was a team playing, and then there was a whole load of really good players playing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's all about. And we had a great team. We had a great laugh. And we socialised with a lot of the American players afterwards. And after the thing was done, we had a great time together. And that's what it's all about, you know. So, but winning was important. We wanted to win. We had lost 91, 93. I think we beat them at Peachtree in '89. That was the first time in American soil. Jim Milligan from Brassey played in that team. But from 91, I think in '95, James, it was only the 4th time that we'd won the Walker Cup.
Yep.
And then crazy.
It was not a wee bit of a run for, not a run, but
they lost 97, didn't they, away? And then 99 they won.
Aberdeen?
Nairn.
No, Nairn. It was Nairn, yeah.
And then I think they won at Aberdeen as well. And they might have won away from home too. But I'm looking forward to going to Cyprus. I've never been to Cyprus. So I'm looking forward to walking around the golf course and seeing it. It's always ranked number 1 or 2, so it'll be interesting to see it. Going to San Francisco before to play a bit of golf. Pebble Beach afterwards. I've never been to Pebble Beach before. So get a chance to play Pebble Beach and a place called Pasatiempo, which is meant to be spectacular. Yep. So, and then on to Arizona. Arizona, my favourite place. I'll finish off with going down there for 5 days golf.
So if anyone's listening to the podcast and is going to be in California next week, if you see an absolute giant of a man in a tiny blazer, then tap him on the shoulder. You've just listened to him on the pod.
It'll not be me, because my blazer's on the wall at Brassy and it's not coming down. So, yeah. I will be there, and I'll be following Dean Robertson and wish his team all the best, that's for sure. But I'm really looking forward to it. It's the pinnacle of your amateur career, and the guys have got to embrace it. And I'm sure Dean, with his experience, will have them ready to give it their best shot.
Well, thanks very much, Gordon. I've very much enjoyed our conversation.
Nice to chat to you.